Right, so we're recording. So first and foremost, Patrice, thank you very, very much indeed for giving up your valuable time to speak to the lovely people who've come to listen what you've got to say. And just to speak to everyone else just quickly about why Patrice is here. I've made it one of my goals this year for Keller Williams UK and certainly Keller Williams London Bridge is to bring guest speakers, international guest speakers to the masses to share inspiration, top tips, advice, best practice, things that have worked for them in the past, and I guess to kind of signpost what worked, what didn't work. But the principal reason I've got Patrice here is because, and I'm sure most of you will agree, I find Patrice one of the most engaging people to speak to and listen to talk. She's one of the most positive people I've ever come across, and without doubt, I've never seen Patrice without a smile on her face. So when it comes to bringing positive energy to an audience, there is only one person on this planet I'm going to put on a screen, and that's going to be Patrice. So again, thank you very much, Patrice. And today's session, self-titled by Patrice, is called Inspired into Action. None of this is going to be scripted, guys, and this is really important, and this is how authentic Patrice is. She's completely designed what we're going to speak about today off her own back. This isn't come out of a textbook. This hasn't come off of a pre-designed slideshow. This is Patrice just talking from the heart about her story, what works for her, what doesn't work for her, with a few good examples of what, I guess, what's made of what I call a global superstar today. So, a couple of house rules. Let's keep any questions while we're going through the session. Any questions, stick them in the chat box, and what I'll do is I'll politely interrupt Patrice now and again just to kind of get your questions across to her and kind of keep the conversation flowing. Because like Patrice said earlier on, the more interactive this is, the better it's going to be for every single person involved. And then towards the end, what are we thinking about? We'll go for at least an hour, Patrice, of your content, maybe a little bit more. There'll certainly be time at the end for us to have a good old Q&A, cameras on, microphones off, and just fast fire, rapid action questions at Patrice about anything we've spoke about. All right? Does that sound fair?
Sounds fair to me.
Sounds fair to me. Cool.
And I just want to say, so thank you. It really means a lot, the words that you said. And of course, I'm kind of giggling and smiling because that's my way. And inside, as you know, I actually genuinely really appreciate this. That means a lot. This is my one thing, and it is just such an honor to be here with you guys today. So thank you, all of you, for showing up. Thank you, Ali and Chris, for having me. This really means a lot. So thank you.
No, absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. So Patrice, I will continue to watch the kind of the waiting room, let people in, but don't let it interrupt your flow.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Well, hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. This really means a lot. I know that you guys are busy and there's a lot of other things that you can do. As I mentioned, it's my one thing, and I'll do a little bit about my story, but I just kind of wanted to just say one thing. I guess the reason that I'm here and how this all came about, and Ali did mention that, so I'm definitely we've got people from all around the world, and that's really special, and it's hard for me to say like global superstar, whatever you said, I don't know. I'm going to write that down later, but this all started because I've always loved being inspiring. That really made a difference. That started in the Bold Room, which is a KW class. So yes, I wrote this, and a lot of the lessons in the material came from learning things from other people. But really, I think COVID has not been a wonderful thing in so many ways and has brought so much tragedy. And yet I also think that it's brought a lot of pressure and a lot of obstacles for us. And if there's one thing I feel that I've been good at, it's finding the opportunity and the obstacle, right? So that's what we're doing here today. So thank you for coming. That's why this means so much. So, okay, so inspired into action. So first of all, let me tell you a little bit about me. So I am a mother. I have 2 kids. My son Darby just turned 21 and Sloan is 19, and I'm about to be an empty nester, which just sounds crazy. I have 2 stepdaughters, Kirsten and Kate, and then I have 1 cute little granddaughter who's 8. Her name is Skylar, and she's just my little sweetheart. Really, really grateful to get to be in their lives. So here's my story. So starting with, we'll start at the bottom. I dropped out of college. I was a geology major. I thought I wanted to be a volcanologist. I also was a sorority girl, surprise, surprise. And I learned more lessons actually from that than my volcanology that I use today. But I realized that if I was going to be a really good volcanologist, I would be in school for 10 years. And I also really wanted to be a mom, right? So dropped out of school. Actually, I moved to California a week after I turned 21, and really just didn't really have it. I had one friend that was there. I worked at restaurants and comedy club. I was an au pair for a professional athlete. And then when I was 23, I decided to move back home and open a coffee shop, right? Starbucks was just kind of all over. It was like a really big deal. I think 1997, they were just opening in Louisiana, and it seemed like a great idea. So moved to Louisiana, started my own coffee shop, and then about 2 hours after opening, and by the way, opening it, the business was so much fun, but 2 hours after we opened, I was like, oh crap, now I have to work in a coffee shop for the rest of my life. Like, ugh, that just wasn't my thing. I don't even drink coffee, by the way. So sold that business for a loss, and then I became the executive assistant of a CEO for a marketing company, and he actually was a professional negotiator, so I got to sit behind his desk. And by the way, I didn't even know, I literally didn't know how to turn on a computer when I got this job. So he knew, by the way, he actually recruited me. And turning it off was really, really hard too. But it was amazing because I got to learn some great lessons of negotiation, which I think set me up here. And the points I'm trying to make about some of this stuff is that the reason I'm a good realtor to this day is because of all of the interesting things that I have in the background. And I'm sure there are great people that have had such a beautiful career. We have Gary Keller, who actually has a degree in real estate. Mine's just kind of like a little collection. So for those of you that are coming into this business and don't have real estate experience, definitely don't let that be fooled. So you guys have been doing this for 15 years. And to be honest, it's the first thing I've ever been really good in. I think I'm a really good realtor, and I'm just really happy in my career. So these are my stories. So these are the 5 lessons that I wish I knew at my core when I began. So here we go. So lesson number 1. Be is more powerful than do. So for those of you that have or will take the BOLD class, there's an expression called be, do, have. Now they've changed it to be, do, and achieve, but I like the old fashioned actually. So, but also you guys have heard of the book Think and Grow Rich, right? It's not Do and Grow Rich, and it's still a popular book for a reason. So here's where it all started. When I first came to Keller Williams, if you told me that I had to take a training class, I probably wouldn't have joined the company, to be honest. Now I'm in every class that's available. But at the time, I was just too nervous. I was too insecure, and I felt like I had something to prove. So I didn't want to do classes. However, I have an amazing team leader, and she asked me to be on the ALC. And as an ALC member and a top producer, I had to take BOLD because everyone else was taking it. And if I didn't take it, then people wouldn't sign up. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll take it, right? So in BOLD, BOLD's an amazing class. I'm just going to say that right now. So BOLD's this training class that teaches you how to do lead generation. It's mindset. It's something that's offered by Keller Williams. And what they do is they get a coach to come in, and we have like 60 of us in a room, and they stick us at tables with 10 people. So I'm sitting there at this table with 10 people, and I had never been in the class. And of course, like I mentioned, it wasn't something that I sought out on my own at first, but they always come up with a team captain. So since I was on the ALC and I was a top producer in the office, they nominated me to be team captain, and I was a little nervous about it. So in BOLD, I always like to tell this story. You have to do 100 contacts a week, and hopefully everybody's doing that. My minimum's 50 now. I thought there's this thing in BOLD, which is called a BOLD 100, and you have to do 100 contacts in a day. That sounds really scary. But at the time, I thought a BOLD 100 is 100 in a week. And I was like, I'm never doing that. And next thing you know, now I'm team captain, and it's my responsibility to make sure that me and 9 others do that week after week. I'm like, oh, great. So I'm very good with responsibility. So that was easy. So up until BOLD, most of my clients came to me either by a referral or by open house, right? So we'd open the open house. Strangers would come in. I would tell them about the house, and hopefully they would find that I was charming and want to do business with me. Thankfully, that happened well. Well, here I am in BOLD now, and they're encouraging you to do all kinds of things. So for the first time in BOLD, I did door knocking. I got 1 listing from that, you guys. For the first time in BOLD, I called expired sellers. Terrified of that at first. I got 2 listings from that. So ultimately, at the end of the 7 weeks, I had 14 pieces of business, with a realization that for me, that stickers on the board are more motivating to me than money. And part of that, and we'll talk about that later, is just because I realized the power of competition. So the other thing that was really cool is this BOLD class was the start of me realizing the difference between being the best agent versus being the best business owner. And back in the day, I thought it was really, really cool to be the strongest negotiator and to get the best deal and all of those. And yes, that's important, but it's also really important for you to be the best lead generator and to have the best people in your world, because it doesn't matter how good you are if nobody knows about you, right? So ideally, we really want to become both. So through that experience, what I needed to know is that super successful people are definitely not always the hardest working or the most educated. And for us to get to the next level of success, it's not about what we know or do, and that to get extraordinary results, it's about who you become. So there's a little bit of my story. And so here we go. How can you put this into action, you guys? Well, first, you have to do an honest self-assessment with no judgment. I'm going to say no judgment about 5 times a day. So for me, I realized and accepted that, and you should as well, that you have to get to a higher level of knowledge. The you that you currently are just doesn't have the skills and the knowledge that you need to create your fantasy life. So that's my lesson. And I say that to myself all the time. Like, what's got me here is the same thing that's holding me back from getting me to the next level. In my opinion, you have to gather your courage, and you have to commit to make time to study yourself. You have to practice dreaming of who you want to be and what your life would look like if you had a magic wand. And in my opinion, you have to start with some pure fantasy, like discovering your best life. And oh my God, this is risky and makes me nervous to say. Like, a lot of the things I have in my morning routine, which I'll mention a lot, I would have never shown anyone those things. I would have never said them out loud. It kind of made me nervous to kind of write them down, because it just seemed out of the realm. I couldn't even imagine it, but I did it anyway, right? Sometimes we have to work on faith. So, and then I committed to learning what was needed to bridge the gap from where I currently am to get to where I'm going today. And you guys, this takes practice. And to be honest, it was really challenging for me. For me, one of the things that helped me is that I kept asking questions of myself. So if I want to be my best self, what does that look like from other people's eyes? At the time, it was too difficult for me to imagine that for myself. So I would ask questions like, what actions would a great leader take? If I want this type of team member to join my team, or if I want this kind of life partner, or if I want these kind of clients, how do I need to behave? Which skills or behaviors would I need to master, right? So just really asking great questions. The expression I think that you hear a lot is called a gap analysis, and I actually call it my rainbow bridge, and I'll explain more a little bit later. So the next, you really should, in my opinion, explore your answers that you give for yourself. So you ask these questions and then you explore your answers. And then that's when we have to make a commitment to start doing the actions and taking small baby steps every day in the right direction to become that. And then you have to commit to enjoying your journey, celebrating every obstacle, and lesson and blessing. And I think, Ali talks about that I have a smile all the time. And I think that's where it came from. It's not because I have the easiest life in the world. In fact, if I listed the struggles that have happened in the past year, we could sit and cry all day long. It's that because of the obstacles and the struggles, I actually worked harder to find the blessing and the lessons. And I think that is so very important. And that's something that I wish I knew before. So that's the end of lesson number 1. Any questions?
I think Cam's got a question. Cam, you got a question?
Yeah, Patrice. I haven't taken bold training, but I do follow. There's a couple of associates of ours did. I believe there's 20 bold laws, right? And I just wondered, when you first took bold training, which one really inspired you? Which one of the laws?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, there are the bold laws, and now I like them all. Some of them were too heavy for me to even comprehend and made me actually really uncomfortable. A lot of the dreaming bigs and those. So I think the be, do, have was one. And then, again, you guys see me as like the bubbly person that I am on Facebook, and I am all of that. I've now taken bold 7 times, plus I think once online as well. Wasn't quite the same, although I'll appreciate it. I've taken it 7 times, and when I first started, I was all about the do. I was all about the numbers. I didn't think feelings mattered. You'll hear me talk about journaling later, but it made me uncomfortable. So it was the reasons. You can have reasons or you can have results, and you can't have both. Like, that was a big one for me, because that I could grasp onto that. Like, the dreaming about your best life and what you deserve, that made me really uncomfortable for a very long time. So which is great about the bold laws, because they're also different. So I would say be, do, have, and then reasons are not results. Results, not reasons.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Patrice,
Do you have a favorite?
Myself?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I think my favorite is, okay, if I translate this correctly, if there is no stress and no pressure, there's no
No
success.
pressure, no diamonds. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
Oh,
one.
yeah,
I like
that's
that
right.
one.
I mean, in
Great.
other words, no pain, no gain.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
And that might be something, Ali, you can send out a little bit later too. Thank you, Sam. If people want to see the bold laws, because I would definitely reference bold a decent amount in here, and just having those little reminders are just so easy. I'm sure everyone's heard about why affirmations are important, and sometimes it's nice to just borrow one that's already there that you resonate with.
Yeah, it's also nice to maybe repeat this like early morning sessions, like that you spend on your time before
Yeah.
you get ready for the day. Yeah, repeat them. I do that.
Yeah. Well, you'll hear me talk about it, but we teach others how to treat us. That was one that I had a hard time accepting for a very long time, and now it's something that I read every day. But so yeah, we'll share that. We'll send it. I'm sure Ali has it, and we'll send it in. And it does come in many languages actually as well. So that's something we could find. So thank you for that question. Go ahead, Ali. You were going to say something.
Patrice, you talked about in order to become the best version of yourself, it was important to see to look at this through other people's eyes. You mind just touching briefly on why did you care what other people thought, if that made sense? Because you're your own person.
Yeah.
Why did you focus on how other people would perceive you?
Well, obviously, I think a lot of us are very aware of how other people see us, and my popularity and the feelings and all of that. That's how I got my value for a very long time. But I don't think it was just that, actually. That's something I've really worked through. I've been in my relationship with myself for about 2.5 years and really focusing on growing, which has been a very cool thing. However, it's that, and Bold talks about a financial thermostat, is that I keep seeing myself, and I still have this habit of it, as seeing myself as little Patrice, right? The little girl from the country who no one expected very much of. So sometimes it's so natural and easy to fall back into that. And yet some people like you and other friends and my team and people will say things to me and that are really powerful, and they see me as a bigger person than I've ever been able to see myself. And I told you earlier, it was almost like you look at a picture of yourself and you're like, oh, I look good today. I wish I looked like that. And you're like, well, obviously sometimes I do, right? So someone will say something about you and you're like, wow, I wish that was really true, right? Well, it is true. It's true to somebody, right? And then we just have the decision of kind of where we're going to fall and how we're going to behave each day. So for me, it was I had to borrow what someone else was saying about me. And Erin Wheelock, I don't know if she's on, she's my peak performance partner. And one of the things that she taught me is that we're always giving ourselves stories, right? To begin with, by the way, a lot of our conditioning comes with stories from our parents and our friends and all those other things. And some of them were great and they protected us. And some of them just don't serve us well now. So we have to decide. So on my morning routine, it says, I choose the stories that help me to get to my path, right? It's my decision on which ones I'm going to give power to. They're all in the head, but only some of them are in control. So that was it with me. Does that make sense? Did I answer that appropriately? Hi, thank you, Erin. She just said I was amazing. I saw that. Oh, and I got a thumbs up. I'm very easy to please. I used to fuss at my son and he'd go, Mommy, you're pretty. And it didn't really matter what he was doing. He actually just, flattery will get you everywhere. Go ahead, sorry. Any more questions on that, or should we move on to lesson number 2?
Let's move on. There's no more questions in the chat, Patrice.
Okay, good. Perfect. All right. So lesson number 2 that I have down is that, and another one I struggled with, is that you must commit to your vision and your big why. And the question that I like to ask when I'm talking with my team, I always just like to be really exciting and dramatic, right? So what will you slay dragons for? Like, what is it that you would just lay it all on the line? You need to know, what is your true commitment? Like, what's your big why? And I know they say the big why, and I was on the ALC, I would write down things every year. I would write my family and like wealth and feeling good and a beautiful house, all of that stuff. And yet it wasn't really me. It wasn't something that resonated with me. It looked good on paper. It was kind of matched what everybody else was saying. Of course, I wanted a happy family and a good life and a great house. I mean, everybody wants that. But what is it that you really are going to be like at your core that you need to have? So that's what I mean by what will you slay dragons for. And by the way, it's okay if you don't have this today. Just for now, it might be nice if you can commit to being open, just being open to dreaming and finding out the answers, and just be prepared, because this takes practice. I literally would schedule like dreaming time, which again was weird. And maybe for some of you that this is easy. kind of sounds funny, and especially for those of you that see me now as like, you know, unicorn and rainbows everywhere. And that wasn't natural for me. It was if it didn't look like work, I wasn't willing to do it for a very long time. And so I think we have to get our head around, like, this is part of your business and this is part of who you are. So, and why is this important? Why is this important in a business class? Because some days it's going to be really hard, right? You're committing to building a better life. You're a business owner. You have hundreds of responsibilities. You have dozens of roles. And some days it's going to be hard. I just heard or saw on Instagram, I think it was, that a little quote that says, if it's not hard at first, then it's not real change, right? So we are expecting that we were making a change in our life, and that is going to be challenging. So in my opinion, let's go in eyes wide open. So I'm going to take over the screen and show you this really cool thing called the emotional cycle of change, which I just find fascinating. And hold on, I have to open my screen. Bear with me. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to click on you guys, and then I'm going to click on share screen. And this is going to be, goodness, this is working beautifully. Okay, so you guys see my little loop here? Okay, so this is called the emotional cycle of change. I found about it in the 12-week yearbook. And so I just was fascinated. And if you get the Audible, I mean, I listen to this over and over again. So number one is the first stage is uninformed optimism. So that's when we decide, oh my God, I'm going to open my own business. This is going to be amazing. And people are going to come in. I'm going to have so much cash. I'm going to go shopping all the time, vacations. Oh my God, this is the life by design. This is amazing. Yay, I can't wait, right? So we're like, this is fantastic. Well, you start working, right? And I'm going to go down the little loop. And some of the times, like, you're like, oh gosh, that didn't quite work out as I meant. Oh gosh, this was a little bit harder than it was yesterday. And oh my gosh, I don't quite have as much money. Oh wow, I have to pay this bill, right? So you're kind of going down. I know you're like, Patrice, I thought you were inspiring us. I'll get to that. Don't worry. It's a loop. The second stage is informed pessimism. So now you're like, oh my God, running a business is hard. I'm over here. Sometimes it feels like you're just spinning plates, right? You're spinning this plate and that plate. And at first it seems awesome and you're just kind of tired and you're like, I've got this. After a while though, you guys, some of the plates start breaking, like something drops, right? It's like, oh my gosh, it's a little bit tricky. So we're over here in informed pessimism. We're like, this isn't great. This is kind of yucky sometimes. And if you thought this is where it stopped, unfortunately it isn't, because what happens is that as you're growing, things are uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable emotionally. Sometimes you're uncomfortable physically. You're having anxiety, and the people in your world are like kind of frustrated with you, right? You're not showing up as much. You have all these new things that you're learning at the same time. And so here you go into the valley of despair. And you guys, this works for everything other than business, but business class, I thought I'd go there. So here you are in the valley of despair. In the book, they talk about that the valley of despair loses a lot of people. So you know that not everybody succeeds as an entrepreneur. Not everybody succeeds as an athlete. We get on diets, whatever it is. It's kind of that same cycle, right? The valley of despair is when we are so very uncomfortable and we just can't get out of it. It just feels really, really kind of overwhelming. And so what happens sometimes with people is that they make a choice and they choose comfort over their dreams, right? They choose comfort over what they originally started with because they don't know what to do. And when we don't know what to do, we always go back to nature, even if it isn't awesome, right? So that's where, you hear people talk about a vicious cycle, right? Like that's the vicious cycle is uninformed optimism, informed pessimism, valley of despair. I'm sure you've seen serial entrepreneurs that are just going around and around, and serial dieters and serial relationship people, whatever it is, you just keep going down. So here's the cool news though, right? We're at the valley of despair, and I always like to call this the bottom of the check mark for everything. I say it constantly. I always say it's great when I'm uncomfortable. It's great when it gets yucky, because that's when we actually start to make a change. And this is where those stories and your big why make a really big difference, you guys. So if you know where you're going, right? If you have that big why and that big dream, you have something to reach to. So here we are, we're still in the valley of despair. Plates are dropping. Our friends and family are frustrated with us. We're not showing up in the same way. It feels really uncomfortable. However, I know where I'm going. So every day I get to make a tiny choice about I'm going to make one step toward my future. So we start to kind of do things. You're like, okay, all right, that wasn't that bad today. I actually did the lead generation that I meant to. And yes, some plates broke, but that wasn't that big of a deal, right? So then you get on the next day, plates are dropping, and you're like, okay, that was a crazy day. I hardly got anything done. However, in addition to getting some things done, I actually ordered a book on leadership that I thought would be really cool. Oh, great. you feel really good at the end of the day, right? Come back again. Oh Lord, there's a bunch of other stuff. Plates are dropping. People are frustrated. You know what? But I heard about this class called Career Visioning, and I want a really big business. And so I'm going to take this class and learn to hire someone, because I know that my dreams, I want something bigger. So you kind of get my point, right? You see where I'm going with this, is that little by little, when you know where you're going and you have that big why, you can make a conscious choice of like, oh my God, I am in chaos 90% of the day, and I just need to squeeze out, I don't know, 5 minutes, an hour, whatever it is that you can, to make sure you're going in the right direction. And what happens is that you start to create these patterns of success. That's just what I call it. I don't know what they call it. You create these patterns of success, and then you see this little line, at some point you get over this threshold, and you get to this magical stage called informed optimism. That's when you're like, this is hard, you guys. Running a business is hard. No big deal, right? Being happy is hard. Going for my dream is hard. Am I going to fail? Yes. Oh my gosh, it's going to be uncomfortable. People are going to look at me. This is going to be embarrassing. Yes. You have all of that. And at the end of it, it's worth it, because I can feel that I'm becoming a different person, right? We always hear people say it's who you become on the journey, right? So now you get to this level of informed optimism. It's tricky. However, you're back to feeling good again. And with momentum, it's always awesome when you're in the same direction. In the 12-week year, they call it, it's a given once you get to this point, like in this little circle. And I assume you could see my little things going around. And that's really cool. And then it says at some point you get to success and fulfillment. And I'll bet if Gary Keller was in this class, he would say you never get to success and fulfillment, because every time you just would keep pushing the bar a little bit higher. And this really would look like a check mark when it's all said and done. But for me, and I'm going to actually go back to my screen because I'm going to get to my notes. But and you guys, we can pause if you have questions about this later. But I just find this to be the coolest thing. So I'm going to unshare my screen so I can go back. Yeah, please, because I have to do my screen anyway.
A quick question that Jenny's asked is there an average time frame between these stages then?
I don't think he didn't say in there, and I think it's really just what is it that, oh, there's my unshare. It's up to you, right? I mean, that's why I think Gary Keller says fail faster. I mean, I don't know. I've never spoken with him, so I certainly didn't run this past. But it's like, you have to just get through the stuff, and you have to get into practice, in my opinion, is how do I unshare? How do I get, unshare, there we are. Sorry. Thank you. You have to get into a practice of like, this is just what I do, right? I'm looking for, that's why I literally say like, thank God I'm uncomfortable, because I was in that limbo just long enough that I'll just like torture myself, right? I'm sure we've all been there, right? Haven't you guys all been like, this is so uncomfortable, and yet I'm so afraid of going to that next step. I'm just going to tolerate it. I can handle this. I can manage, right? This is good enough. That's an expression that I've said a long time. And the difference is how fast that you can start to trust yourself, and you feel that uncomfortable thing, and this is a blessing. This is exactly what I needed. This is uncomfortable enough that I'm making a difference. And so you just have to start practicing. And to be honest, it used to take me a heck of a lot longer. And now I'm a lot faster with it, because I've built this trust with myself, actually, right? It's become more natural. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, I should have shown it on there. So I see my big why, and this won't surprise anyone who's seen me on the internet, but I see my big why as my rainbow bridge. So I literally have a visualization of, I know what the valley of despair looks like. I've lived in the valley of despair. I've quit in the valley of despair. I've had all of those things happen. And so I've decided to consciously imagine my big why as my rainbow bridge, so that I can either get back on it or I can just skip it completely. Because I know that if I feel it strong enough, and it's reading my morning routine, it's making conscious steps every day to move forward, then I'm going to get over to that other side quickly. So, all right. So now that we've been through my rainbow bridge and that really cool show, let's get back to the content. So here we go, you guys. So if you want to create an extraordinary life, right? The word extra in there, you need to be prepared, because it's going to take a little bit of extra, at least at the start. So I found that, again, taking bold classes, when you're talking to 700 contacts in a 7-week period, you start to have enough data to be able to look at patterns. So, right. So, and plus I had 9 other people at my bold table. I always talk about that. And then now I have a team. So I'm able to see leads. So what I noticed, because I'm obsessed with tracking things, is that statistically, that I would hear 97 to 99 no's for every 1 yes. So for every 100 people that we all spoke with, it seemed that between 1 to 3 of those on average was interested in doing real estate or talking real estate. And by the way, you guys, in my Bold 100, I did ultimately do one. I went into a parking lot. I talked to strangers at the grocery store because I committed to doing 100 contacts. I was the team leader. Everybody was watching me. And to be honest, they needed me to succeed. So I didn't have a choice. So I started out doing door knocking, and then I did some calls to clients. And next thing you know, like the sun's going down. I'm like, oh my gosh, my team and I are on a group chat and they're pumping me up, and I'm sitting there and I'm nervous as can be. And I'm like, how am I going to get through this many more people, right? I think I had like 50 left and the sun was going down. I was like, oh no. So my first 50 took me like 6 hours, and I just didn't have another 6 hours to spend. And I actually was getting on a flight to visit a past client in Palm Springs the next morning. So I didn't have any time to waste. So I go to the grocery store and realize I'm just going to accost strangers, right? So another part of my bold story. I pulled in the grocery store, parked, and swear to God, I drove back out of the grocery store. I was like, I couldn't do it. So I went to a different grocery store. And this one I stopped and I stayed. And I went in there, and I literally would run up to strangers or slowly walk, it just depended, and say, hi, you don't know me. My name's Patrice Sandstrom. Sorry, I almost said sandwich. That's how nervous I got. Oh, this makes me so excited. But I'm feeling that nervousness. I was so nervous that I went up to strangers and said, hi, you don't know me, but I've made a commitment to double my business this year. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to talk to 100 people about real estate today. And that's my commitment. So I'm wondering, have you ever thought about buying or selling? Or I'd say, or do you know anybody that wants to refer? Can I give you my card? It just depended. And you guys, some people like ran away from me. Like that was uncomfortable. But what was really cool is that some people actually gave me their contact information. 3 people actually were interested in doing real estate at some point. So there's my statistic. And you guys, some people actually hugged me, and I had people that cried because they were so inspired that I was doing something to make a difference that it actually affected them in their life, which is pretty cool. So anyway, back to where it is. So if you guys don't have the drive for the extra push, you're just going to be unlikely to become successful. You'll maintain your current lifestyle, which is all right, right? But you guys, it takes something special to give that extra push to every new level of achievement. And I say every new level of achievement because I want you to see it as layers, as just like, I'm getting to this level, I'm getting to the next. Sometimes we see like, okay, this is where I am and this is where I want to be. And how the heck am I going to get there? And for me, I think it's that it's just you just have to see it as like little jumps, right? Little tiny baby rainbows for every bit. So now the question of this lesson 2 is, how can you put this into action? Well, first, you need to set your vision and your big why. You need to open your mind, and you have to be willing to grow. And how do you do this? Well, you read books, you subscribe to podcasts of people that you respect and have had success. You take classes like from me or anyone else in your market center all around the world. You experience the funeral exercise, and as uncomfortable as that can be and kind of scary for us to think about what we want our life to look like later, in my opinion, this is your compass to make sure that you continue going in the right direction. And here's the one that people always love. You have to be open to journaling, you guys, in any form, and see it as a board meeting with yourself so you can find out what's really on your inside so that you can make your best decisions. And then next, once you have all of that down, then you need to commit. So you can do a 66-day challenge. You should time block, and you really should just practice getting into this level of mastery with yourself. So to get a beautiful life, you just need to do whatever it takes, and then you have to burn the ships. You guys, one of my goals is I want to live in France for about a year, starting next year or later this year. I literally turned my phone settings into French so that I would be uncomfortable enough to have to make that decision. So basically, it's getting to that level. How does that sound? That's the end of lesson 2.
Patrice, you talked about the funeral exercise. Obviously, there's a few of us who'll know what that is, but for the people who have no idea because it sounds very morbid, obviously.
Yeah.
Let's practice a funeral. It's obviously
okay.
Tell us a little bit more about the funeral exercise.
No. So the funeral exercise is a visualization where you are kind of have a conversation with yourself, saying that if I were to die today, or at the end of my life, I guess is what it should be, because if we're dying today, there's not much you can do. So let's say I'm 100 years old. I want to be like 105. I've got something to prove, of course. I can't just be a regular average. So I'm 105 and I passed away, and thankfully people in my life are all still alive and they're saying something about me. So what would your family member say about you? What would someone in your community say about you? What would someone in your business say about you? What would your friends say about you? So those 4 different things, and it's you have to really get deep with yourself. What was cool for me is at first it was really, well, it certainly was challenging. It's just getting over it. Once you get started, I don't know if you've noticed, but I can just go on and on all day long, right? So it can be easy. It's that first step. But for me, what I really realized is that I'm a lot closer to what I want to be than I realized, right? Because for me, what I really want is for people to say, Patrice made a difference. I want for my friends to be like, she was fun. Every time Patrice was around, it was a party. Patrice is who I'd go to whenever I need something. I wanted my community to say, that girl made a difference, right? She stood up for charity. She stood up for what she believed in. I want my family to say, you know, she was always there, all of those things, right? I want people in my business to go, wow, that girl's cool. I don't know how she did that. And she was really inspiring. And the cool thing is when I wrote that, I realized that I have people all over my world that would say those things. If something happened to me today, I would have that. It just would be on a much smaller scale. And what that made me realize is that I like who I am. I don't want to change that. I just want it to be a much bigger version of myself on a bigger scale. Does that make sense for everybody? Allie, you already know what it is. I hope it makes sense for everybody
I'm
else.
saying, yeah.
Oh, good.
I've got a question that's come in from Joanne. How are you managing contact and meeting people then to grow business during COVID? Because you spent a bit of time there talking about speaking to people, stepping out your comfort zone. How are you managing that during COVID?
So obviously just different ways. A lot of it, I'm doing a lot more social media than I ever had. We used to be open house only. And now I'm really purposeful about, and we say this later, it's always lead generation, even when it's not lead generation. So what I do now is people that are in my world, they're already there already. And so I'm just building my business around what I'm naturally doing, right? So if I'm on an airplane, I just flew here to Louisiana to see my family. I'm talking to them about real estate. You guys, tomorrow I'm going to show a property to one of my friends and I'm going to refer it to someone in the market center there, right? I'm literally having conversations with everybody. When I'm closing with a client and telling them what a great job I did on their negotiation, I say, and by the way, I just want to make sure you know, I just earned my commission back from you. So now I need you to give me 2 referrals, right? Who do you know? How can I help? Let's talk about this. What are you looking for? Are you thinking of making any changes? I'm sorry that I literally last week sent a message to someone and said, you know, I'm really sorry that I didn't stay in touch with you. I know that you bought a house from someone in the last few years, and I can commit to you that I'm not going to let that happen again. I'm going to make sure we're in relationship because I want to make sure that I earn your business, right? So it's just that. It's every phone call, every text, every conversation. By the way, you guys are all my contacts. So I'm an excellent agent in the San Francisco East Bay area. I'm counting every one of you. So I do expect referrals if you need something. So it's just that, right? It's changing who I am and just making that. Did that answer the question? Can I get some hearts or claps of who's they're going to refer to in the East Bay? Because it has to be a two-way conversation. Otherwise, I don't get to count it as a contact, right? Yay!
Patrice, I referred you everything in East Bay because I love and appreciate you. And I'm going to move to Paris with you next year.
Thank you, David. I love it. David's an amazing connector, actually, for years when I don't have an agent. David's who I call. So thank you. But yeah, it's just that. It's making this a conscious daily part of your life, right? We can't make our lives a part of our business the same way. I used to say I'd put my real estate costume on and go to work. And now I'm wearing yoga pants on the bottoms. Not today, by the way. I'm wearing a skirt today for everyone. This is important. But it's making that choice of just bringing the business into your life. Did that answer the question? I'm like, oh.
I think you did.
Okay, you guys ready for set number 3, or do we have any more questions? This is a fun one.
I think Ken might have a question. Ken, have you got a question?
Yeah, on the subject of big why. I did have a big why, but then recently I started reading this book, Living Forward. I'm sure some of you might have done the same or heard. Then I said to myself, wait a minute, is it possible to figure that out by saying, let's say 5 years from now, what is indispensable for you? To ask that question, to figure out the big why.
I think you can do it anyway. I think you just need to practice it. I think that's really the lesson, is that you have to be in relationship with your big why, right? Like I'm in relationship with my goals. That's what my morning routine is. I read it every day. I change it. I'm negotiating. It's like, this is important to me and that one wasn't. So if your 5 year is where you feel comfortable going today, then go there. I think it's a lot more for me about, you know, that be and who you become kind of thing. It's like, what do you want to see at the end of it? Yes. Okay, I'll say for our team, you guys all know the GPS, the goals, 1 goal, 3 priorities, and 5 strategies, right? So for years, I put my business number up at the top for my goal. And we've changed that now to thinking about who do we want to become? Like, what is our end goal for who do we want to become? So I want to be super successful, incredibly inspiring. I want to have the numbers for my business. I also want to have a smooth business where I could travel and enjoy my kids. And I want a sense of purpose and know that every day I did something that made a difference and that I feel really proud of myself. So it's a long one and you got to really have some extra lines, but that's now my G, right? What that means is that that's a bigger thing. Now I can put my other goals, which are my numbers, my smooth business, and my leadership skills in the middle. Does that help? Does that make sense? I know it's not exactly the same question, but I think it'll help you if you see it that way.
No, I read you correctly because, like I said, I totally am not confused, but I got to sit down and think about it. Today I'm going to turn off everything Saturday. Nobody's going to be able to get in touch with me to figure this out. Because, like you said just a while ago, how do you want to be remembered at the end of the day?
Yeah.
That might be a separate thing. So,
isn't that powerful,
like
right?
Said,
it's like,
it's really powerful. It just shocked me. Like I said, I don't know.
well, and again, practice with it. Don't expect, like, when you meet, by the way, you're not going to have your perfect big why, right? That you're just going to have an iteration of that. You're going to have a lesson. I have a note in my phone, like a little notepad, that when something pops up, I put it in there. And those are the little seeds that I use to start planting so I can get to that level, right? Because and we talk about this in a little while, the you that you are today is not going to get you to where you need to be. Otherwise, you'd already be there, right? You're capable of where you are. We need to get to the next level and kind of peel that layer back. So just kind of enjoy the practice of it, in my opinion.
It's kind of like setting your life plan as clear as possible, right? And be honest about it.
Yeah, but that's not always as easy to say. It wasn't for me. I mean, I just kept changing things little by little and realizing like, okay, I like this and I like that. And what am I willing to give up for one thing or the other? So, and I think that's a perfect segue into our lesson number 3, which is that you have to know, understand, and this is a big one, and build trust with yourself. So I have a little quote in here. I don't know if you guys have seen The Count of Monte Cristo, but it's always one of my favorite movies with the kids. And so Jacopo says to Zatara, I'm still your man, Zatara. I swore an oath and I will protect you, even if it means I must protect you from yourself. So I love that quote, by the way. So as parents, you know, and leaders and friends, we're always doing things from other people. And what I'm here to say is it's your responsibility. That word is specific and it's underlined in my notes. It's your responsibility to master your vision, your values, and self-knowledge. And I'm not saying be selfish, you guys. I'm saying that to be your best self, maybe you need to create a higher level of respect and value for yourself, to know you're good, you're bad, and you're ugly. And it's your job to protect your ideas, your time, and your energy. And I don't know. I believe that it helps when you're in a habit of earning your own trust and respect daily. So that's a big thing for me. My morning routine every day, and I think I mentioned it earlier, is I have a quote that says, it's my personal responsibility to know what I need and want from myself and from the people in my life and business. And then it says, I model my standards. And I think that's so important because we say what we want and what we'd like to have, and that just doesn't always happen. So, by the way, if you don't feel like you know yourself as well as you could today, that's no big deal, and there's definitely no judgment. And if you want to build a life by design, I just would like for you to consider that maybe it's time, as a responsible business person, as a partner, and as a human, to find this out. And I'll bet that me saying it, because that was a very direct line, that I probably just made some people really uncomfortable, maybe lots of people uncomfortable. And I'm okay with that because I said that directly for a reason. One of my superpowers is that I have the courage to ask people very provocative questions. So here are some more of my favorite Fierce Conversation questions. So, and if you guys haven't read that book, it's fantastic. Every year I do a walk in the woods with myself where I have to ask myself these questions. And so get a pen because I think that these are really important questions. And you can use whatever you want, but at least just play with me and make me feel like you're participating. So first question is, what's your purpose? You guys, if you don't know your purpose, how can you time block for what's important versus what's urgent, right? There's a quote that's, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. You guys, there's so many activities in real estate, and only some of them are going to get you into the right direction. They say there's 192 tasks, and we actually solve problems for a living. So surprise, you guys, That's what this job is. It's a wonderful career. I love it. I have so much fun. And it's also a business of solving problems. Nobody needs a realtor in the US to buy or sell a house. That means I'm a luxury, right? So I'm solving problems because people are paying me because they don't want to deal with this stuff, right? So kind of knowing that. So how can you time block for the right things if all you're doing is like problem solving? Some of those are important, but most of those are just urgent. They're not going to get you where you want to be. So the next question is, what is your UVP? And I think Ali actually posted something about your unique value proposition on LinkedIn actually this week. So your UVP, you guys, is your unique value proposition. And in our business, that's what we're really selling. I mean, yes, we sell houses in the sense that that's how we get compensated. But when we're really selling is we're selling ourselves. So, you know, I'm a luxury agent. I'm compensated well. If I don't know my value, how am I going to walk into someone's house or on someone's Zoom screen and say, hey, sir, this is what's going on. By the way, here's all the stuff that I don't like about your house. Here are the things that I do like about your house, after I've just kind of said some things that are not pleasant and people don't always want to hear because they think their houses are perfect. Then I have to say, great. Now let me tell you what I'm going to do about this. And I'd like for you to compensate me and give me, 5.5% of the sales commission. And our average is $1 million, right? So I need you to give me $55,000 after I just said that. How am I going to ask for 50? You guys, I'm from Louisiana, right? Like this is a lot of money. $1 million is a lot of money for a house. I grew up really having a lot of respect for money. If I don't know how valuable I am, how am I going to go and ask somebody to pay me large sums of money, right? Especially for those people that are going from a salaried position to a new career. Our commissions, our compensations are larger in some cases than the average people make in months. So how are you going to do that if you don't really know how valuable you are? So that's a big one too. And for me, you guys, I didn't really know my value proposition. That made me uncomfortable. I'm like, again, I'm just going to make some phone calls. I'll come up with my value proposition later. Let me get a resume first. Let me do this first. It was always, I'll get to that later. And that was a little tricky. So, and then you guys, here's the big question that is the most challenging one, I think, to ask. And this one was a no for me for a very long time. And it's, are you in integrity with yourself? And what I mean by that is, do you have a habit of breaking tiny promises to yourself, either by choosing someone else's other priorities or getting distracted, maybe to avoid drama or stress, right? By not practicing self-care and maintenance, by working too many hours, by not eating right and not sleeping, right? Not really taking care of your temple. Maybe you're not doing the lead generation that you say that you're going to, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then you don't. Or maybe just not giving your best. I've certainly been guilty of like, I literally used to book my time every time, hour by hour, where it was nearly impossible for me to do the things in a week that I could do. I mean, there just weren't enough hours in the day, and I'd do that anyway. And I'd overbook, and what would happen is that I would end up not being my best, right? I'd get to a presentation, and it was pretty good, but it wasn't my best. And then I wasn't proud, right? So these are what I mean by not being in integrity with yourself. And I believe that this kind of thing can erode away our sense of trust and cause us to doubt ourselves. And we'll see that kind of stuff come up in our language when we're talking to or about ourselves. And I believe that in order to make better decisions and to be appropriate in the moment, that we need to know that we can count on ourselves. And just like with other people, trust must be earned every day, over and over and over by action. And you may be wondering, like, why is this important in a business class, right? Well, how can you sell yourself if you're not in a habit of doing what you say? Like, sir, here's my list of all the things that I said I was going to do in that brochure I sent you. And there's a pretty good chance that I'm going to do somewhere between 62 to 94% of those things. Hopefully, right? Like, if you have those seeds of doubt, then it's going to color your relationship. So in my opinion, I think that self-trust or self-doubt is always present and shows itself. And that especially is true on sales calls, because whether we realize it or not, you're going to be in some level of stress. And so your real side is going to come out. So if you are nervous and you don't trust yourself and you don't feel that confidence, those guys are going to receive that as well. I think they say with communication, I want to say it's 60% of tone and feeling and all of that. And the words, where important, are much smaller portions. So anyway, so I found that to have a really big business, to lead your team, your family, your clients, you're going to be best set if you know deep in your heart that you have what it takes. So when you believe in yourself this way, if you build up a pattern of trust and success, I think that it's really hard to, I think once you build that up, it's going to be really hard to break, and it's going to be really easy to convey. So how can you put this into action? Well, number one, you have to learn who you are with no judgment. And again, that will come up again and again. I think that we get into this pattern of judging ourselves, and because we're in that natural pattern of judging ourselves, we pretend to ignore things because we just can't take it. So first of all, you have to make that commitment that when I'm discovering with myself, I'm not going to judge, no matter what, right? Because you guys, there's valuable data that's found in your natural patterns, and this kind of thing can really work for your advantage. So on our team, we actually call this our driving value. So how do you start? Well, I'm sorry to say, but it comes to some form of journaling. Oh, the answers to everything with me are journaling and lead generation. So it's important, though, for you to get out like what's been happening in your life and then to pay attention to your patterns. So you want to know like what type of things always interfere with you? What kind of things come up over and over again when you really are intending to do the right thing? And what value was that feeding? Because if you find that pattern, maybe that's a driving value. So I have on here, I'd love for people to give an example like of what kind of things get in the way in their life when they're trying to do their lead gen. Can anyone share that? Will someone raise a hand? So I would love to just show how we can kind of turn that around or find where that might be. Anybody? Ooh, we have 32 people. This is exciting. Anyone? It's okay if you don't. I can move on to the next one. I just wanted to give that opportunity if someone had something specific. Children and homeschooling. Yeah, that's definitely a popular one. I have 4 agents on my team, and 2 of them have recently become teachers. One of them has recently become a mother, and one of them has become an empty nester. So we all have our things. So yeah, the teaching is definitely getting into the way. So I would say that's a tricky one, right? Because you have to take care of your children first, but it's really your larger value is your family, right? So you have to put them in front. They're going to get in your way. So maybe being a good parent may be your value. That's a tricky one. So let me move on to the next one. Sorry, I sabotaged myself there. So, okay, now you know the things that get in your way. And I don't want it to just be the things today. I want it to be things that over and over again. For me, it was like, if someone needed me to help fix the printer at school, if someone was on the side of the road, I'd pull over. Like whatever it is, I just had to go save people. That was my thing. So was what would get in my way over and over again. So once you start paying attention, you guys, to what you write, and it should be more than one thing that you write down, you want to use this data to your advantage because we want to exploit your natural tendencies and stop fighting them. And we want to start leveraging your subconscious. And for example, this is what I was kind of meaning. So if you find that you're motivated by recognition, if you're a people pleaser and you want to make people happy, then great. So what we can do is we just can create some outside accountability. So you may want to look for a coach. You want to look for a peak performance partner. You want to look for accountability partner, someone that you respect and you want them to give you their approval. And then you earn that by doing the work that you say that you're going to, right? They're helping you to get to your point. If you like competition, I love that too, by the way, winning, being a team player, then great. What you should do is you should find someone that you respect that's in this business or another business, and you make it a game, right? You do some sort of competition. They don't even have to know about it. You guys, I have competition. I love competition. In Bold, I talk about like the stickers on the wall. If I put more stickers than anybody else, it feels really good. I will do anything to put a sticker on the board. Like, I'm like, they'll say like, this is how much money you get from a commission. Yeah, that sounds really good, but I want to get more stickers than everybody else. Competition now I know is something that's good to me. So I just make a game out of everything. I even have I have a friend that they had similar amount of Instagram followers as me. So they don't even know I'm in an Instagram follower competition. If they have more, I'm going to post more things. The reason that works for me is because it makes sure that I'm posting, right? Otherwise, I may get distracted. So it's just kind of making it fun. You guys, if you like helping others, that's one of my things too, is making a difference. Teaching, stewardship, any of that stuff, then great. You guys should look for leadership opportunities. You should commit to help somebody else. You should get a partner or mentor a new agent. And the cool thing is that you'll actually learn faster when you teach someone else. So does this make sense, you guys? This is kind of the end of lesson 3, but it's finding out what is it that really motivates you, what drives your action and has driven it in the past, and then setting up your business success so that you can, to get that wonderful reaction that you wanted, you have to do the things that you've meant. And that's been a big thing for me, actually. Any questions on that one or comments? Thank you for my heart.
Patrice, can I just go back to your question? You asked a question about what gets in the way of lead generation, and I guess from my perspective, I personally struggle to identify my big rocks, because everything to me is a big rock, like everything. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it all. But I find myself as the team leader, as the market center director, I'm fielding calls, emails. There's always somebody wants a piece of me. That's my biggest struggle. Is I joined Keller Williams. I get into this position because I genuinely enjoy and I'm motivated by helping people. The problem is I allow other people to hijack my time. What's your advice on that?
Been there, done that. Yeah. So, so this Jay Papasan and Carrie Keller will appreciate you have to really put it there, and ask yourself the qualifying question. What is the one thing that if I do it will make everything else easier and necessary? And I love buying all the little tools, even though I don't always use them, but there actually is this thing that they would sell at family reunion. It's a little sheet of paper and you list your 10 things that you have to do, and it makes you squeeze it out and go, okay, these are my to-do list. What's my success list? And it'll ask you that question. And so for you, well, I know because I'm very close with my team leader that your thing is you need to grow the market center, you need to grow production, and you need everyone to move forward. So if I were to hazard a guess, I would say that number one, you need to make sure that your recruiting is done. You need to make sure that your numbers are covered, because if you don't, then you won't have anything to give to anyone else. Number two, you need to grow leaders, right? You don't have enough of you to go around, because when you're growing that market center, there will be too many people. And if you feel like, oh my God, there's not enough for me to go around today to take care of my 35, and now I need to get to 60, your values are going to compete with one another, right? Because you're like, I want to be the best leader ever and be everything that they need. I also need to have more people. I already don't have enough time. How you literally can't do those two things unless you build a rainbow bridge over it, right? So the rainbow bridge for you might be is I need to take a minute and go, okay, you guys, for just a couple of weeks, I'm not going to be as accessible as I always am. And I'm going to ask for your grace on this. And the reason is because I'm going to do a self-assessment and figure out what I need to do to be a better leader and to create more leaders in the office, right? So there's 35 of us, and my goal is to make sure that 5 of you become the strongest leaders possible. And I'm going to give you everything that I have. And then you 5, I'm going to teach you everything that I know so you could teach the other people, right? So you are going to be that leader and you're going to be me. In fact, Duck and I just had coaching on this. Duck, I need you to be, this is what I said to him yesterday. I need you to be me and to be at my level of leadership so that I can go to the next level, and you're going to take care of everybody else. So I'm going to be pushing you to make sure that you are this so that I can get to my next level so that you can help more people, right? Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. Thanks for that.
And it's giving yourself the grace and asking for that. And I think when you're honest with yourself and with those people and you explain that, I mean, everybody that's in your market center, I'm sure would raise their hand and go, Allie, you should absolutely do that, right? We love the leader that you are. We're excited about where you're taking us. We all want more people to join this company and have this great experience. And heck, I want to be a better leader, because you know what a better leader is? A better leader is an easier closer, because you're leading your clients exactly where you want, right? A better leader has stronger skills. A better leader is attending more classes. A better leader has more peace of mind, all of those things. So I think if you have that conversation with everybody, it might be really interesting to see who stands up and who wants to have that conversation back and say, I'm going to earn that slot with you, Allie, right? I'm going to be more accountable than anybody else. And I'll bet you'll see people show up differently and everything will just get easier. Simple, not easy, right? Okay. All right. So lesson number 4. Ooh, this is one that I had to take a lot of classes to get to, and it is to submit. Step away from the ego, people. And I didn't think I had an ego. I always considered myself to be humble, but honestly, I think I was modest and not humble. And now I'm thankfully humble and not modest, right? So I will just toot my own horn all day long. And yet at the same time, I do it in gratitude. And I know that the only reason that I am where I am today is because of the people that support me and all of those things. So I found that it's helpful, again, and I talked about this earlier, to accept that the things that got me here are also the things that are holding me back from my next level. So now what? Okay, you guys, we just went through lesson 3, and now we trust ourselves, right? So over the past year, I've absolutely built up a level of trust. You guys are on that journey, hopefully now, or you're starting this afternoon. You start building up that level of trust, like, oh my God, I'm committing to fewer things because it's more important for me to believe in myself and to know that when I say something, it's going to get done. It's more important for my team to know when I say something, it's going to get done than for me to actually do the task. Does that make sense? The habit is more important than the task, right? So once you get to that point, you're going to begin to trust yourself. You're building that trust day after day. And let me tell you, you don't want to stop once it gets going because it feels really good. I've never felt so good in my whole life. I feel really confident with myself. I don't need as many outside opinions. I kind of don't care because for the first time, I'm truly fulfilling my own needs. So, okay, now what happens when you trust yourself? You guys, now you can trust the models. You can trust the models. We joined KW and these models are proven. It's literally a roadmap for success. The reason that we didn't trust it before and we couldn't commit sometimes is because we knew that the models were proven, but we weren't proven. And so if we didn't trust ourselves and we started going down these models, did we really believe it was going to happen? I don't know. I mean, that's a question for you to ask. But for me, I hoped it was going to happen. I thought it could happen. Now that I trust myself, I freaking know it's going to happen. Let me tell you, that is different, right? I stand there with my hands on my hips, Wonder Woman style, and I freaking know it's going to happen. And that only got there because I had this trust, right? So we trust ourselves. This is awesome. We have the KW models. And I always like to point this out. Like Gary Keller is brilliant. The guy has a degree in real estate, which not many people had. But even he didn't write the book just from his own ideas. He went around and he actually researched dozens of top agents, like, I don't know, I don't remember the date, 20, 30 years ago, whatever it was. He looked at their systems, he tracked their patterns, I love that word, and he looked at the similarities and he sat there and was like, okay, everybody that has the most level of success is doing all of these things, right? So he took this data and then he documented and he simplified it into a recipe for big success. And you guys, that's the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So how can you put this section into action? Well, number one, you should read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent over and over and over. And I hear people all the time with many different numbers and people are always like, okay, how many times, right? I'm sure someone's thinking that. How many times, Patrice? Well, I'm guessing that you need to read it enough times until you master implementation. And I'm like, eyes, glasses off, like master implementation. That's exactly the level that you're trying to get to, or until you have the level of success that you desire. And you know, everybody's level is different, right? You can just, for now, it could be I'm supporting my family and I don't want to have to put anything on a credit card again. It could be I want to get my business to a level that I pay off my debt. I could get my business to a level where I'm buying a house. I can get my business to a level where my kids are covered in college, or I can get my business to a level like I actually want to impact the world and I want to make a huge statement and I want to leave a legacy. So anywhere in there is totally fine. I just think that it's really important for you to know. So next step is you need to put yourself into some situations to be around other people that are at, above, and below your level of success and on different journeys. And I think all of those are important. I think it's important to be around people and feel that energy and that drive. I think it's important to have people that you spend time with that are going where you're going, that are a little below you. It gives you a chance to do some leadership. And I definitely think that you need to have some people that you see above you that are having success that you can believe in. And it should be somebody who has similar values and maybe styles and beliefs that are having that success, because you really do want to learn from them. So by the way, it can be humans, and obviously we're in COVID, so you're like, Patrice, I can't see anybody, right? Well, that's okay. It can be books, it can be classes, it can be podcasts or leaders in KW, other agents, or even other business leaders from other things. And Gary talks about building your circle of 5, right? So you want to have the 5 people. They say that you are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So that's what I'm talking about. And you guys be prepared, because this is all going to take time, energy, brain power. You just have to remember, like, we're creating something, right? That's special. You have to respect that, and you have to respect yourself. So you have to be sure that you're setting yourself up for success. So you need to time block for this. You have to build a bunker. You have to protect the time to work on your business, not only the time to work in your business. And remember, and we learned this from Alex at France Family Union, it's a recipe and not a menu. And you guys, I don't do baking, and I don't do baking for very good reason. It's because I'm not always the best with following directions. So this is something that I really have to be in practice with. But it's when they say it's a recipe, not a menu, that means you do everything as it says, how it says it, in the order that it's said, if you want to have a cake by the end of it. This isn't a menu where you're like, I'm going to take this and I'm going to take that and I'm going to skip the parts that I don't like. So I think that that's important. So now some of you guys may be scared that I just talked about like working on your business, because honestly, that can be really hard. And then the other half of you is like, thank God, because I can avoid lead generation a little bit longer. And that is going to lead us into our lesson 5. I'll stop in a minute, but lesson 5, ... there's going to be some lead generation in there. So Allie, do we have any questions on that section? Comments? I'm hoping that this is valuable and that you guys are finding some tidbits in here, by the way.
There's nothing in the chat box, but I had a question. Something you talked about there about finding people who have similar values and styles and beliefs. How do you identify these people then, Patrice? How did you find your kind of your crew, your audience, your
Yeah.
tribe?
So like everything, practice, grace, and realizing that I'm in relationship with finding these people. I use that expression for everything. And I took the values class, right? It was called How Billionaires Set Goals. I saw it at Family Reunion, and then Ben Taylor in your markets, obviously you all know, taught. Oh gosh, how do I not remember that? Goal setting to the now. So that's how our team has done it. So obviously it's looking people and seeing how they are and how they're representing themselves. For our team though, we watch these videos over and over and over again. And we do this as a practice because if we're evolving, we talked about the next level and the next level. What I saw today is important may not be the same thing that was important before, or I actually have bigger values. My values now that I chose actually encompass a lot more small values. However, when I started, I was only able to choose smaller values, and that's okay too, right? It's knowing that we're in process. So looking at those values, and again, it was part of like paying attention to how I was showing up and finding people that were showing up similar. So for me, my number one value is making a difference. I wasn't lead generating half the time, or I wasn't even preparing. Like I'd have a $3 million listing presentation that I was so excited about. But if someone asked me to go help them with the printer, by the way, we have almost 500 people in my office. I'm not the person to ask for the printer, but I'd stop what I was doing to take care of me, to go take care of them, right? It was things like that. I've been to the beach, not kidding. I found 2 children lost on the beach before, so I am kind of a superhero. But the point is my girlfriends are like, what? We're supposed to be relaxing. Can the lifeguards do that? No, sorry, I can't. I will sabotage myself or what I'm doing again and again if it gives me the opportunity to feel that need, which is making a difference. If I feel like I'm useful or important, I'll stop whatever else. And so that's what I mean. It's finding people that you see that live that way with their actions, not just their words. Is that helpful?
Yeah, of course. Really great answer. Josh had a question. He said, how do you define a big business then?
Well, it's really that for everybody. And I just want to go back to that other question. By the way, you guys, it doesn't have to be about success. For those of you that are new in the business, that person that has similar values is probably you, right? Someone who is brave enough to start a career in real estate and start from scratch, right? Being an entrepreneur. That person has your similar vision and values. They'd be a great ally. People that are parenting at home and being teachers and realtors at the same time, 2 things that they have are estate agents, right? 2 things that they may have no experience in doing, that they're going down this journey. Find people in that, right? And work together and to build it out. So there's that too. So I just wanted to throw that in. Allie, would you repeat that question one more time? Sorry about that.
Of course. Josh asked, what would you consider a big business?
Well, I think that is going to be an answer that's different for everybody.
In your opinion, though, how do you, at what point do you define what you're doing as a big business?
So I would say for a big business, I want to be a millionaire real estate agent, right? I want to have those numbers, and I want to have enough that not only I'm comfortable and happy, but I want every member of my team. For me personally, my goal this year is that everybody hits 6 figures, my admin staff and my sales team. And it's my job to make sure that they do whatever it takes. So we've hired a manager. I realize the things that I'm not good at, I've hired around that. I realize the things I am good at, I'm going to do more of that and be more purposeful. I realize I needed to be a better leader, right? So everybody has their own. For me, I need the people around me to be successful, because if I'm making a lot of money and they aren't, it's going to make me feel very uncomfortable. My leading value is to make a difference. Like, how yucky does it feel when I'm successful and other people just aren't there, right? I don't want to just keep saving people that are sad. I want to empower people to have their very best life. So I would say a good first goal would be, first, one, getting into production. I mean, for new agents, just that is alone is one, right? Having so many people in your database that you know that consistently year after year that you're all set for. Being a capper would be one. I think for all of us, I think this is an amazing opportunity. You guys, I love this business. It's literally, I said it's the only thing I've ever been really good at. It's really the only thing I've ever really tried and really loved. I truly love this. It's the coolest thing ever. We have so much opportunity. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I'm a girl. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but girls haven't always had the equal opportunity as everyone else. And we hear that come up over and over again. You guys, this is glasses off again so I can look you in the eye. This is the one place, your own business, that it is a truly level playing field. Everybody is equal here, and I don't know, I didn't mean to get into all that, but like, that's my thing. That's your level of success. So build a big business, where you can affect the people around you. Is that do I get a little too excitable about that? Sorry, Josh, I know that wasn't an exact answer.
Double thumbs up from Josh.
Thank you, Josh. I would give Josh a heart, but I don't have that on the screen. So, okay, you guys, you ready? So number 5, this is our last lesson, and we need a drum roll. Ooh, that hurt my fingers. So don't be surprised, you guys. You have to earn it, right? This is going to be a little bit of hard work, at least at first. So you're going to have to commit to your business. You're going to have to live your standards and your habits. And what do I mean by that? And we hear that word standard all the time. You hear inspect what you expect. And it's like, I used to say that all the time. I'm like, but I didn't really set any expectations out there. I realized that one day I was in a bold class and, my coach was talking about inspect what you expect. I'm like, oh yeah, totally going to do that. It's like, wait a minute. I don't even know what I expect of my team. How could they possibly know? I haven't taken the time to sit there. You guys, that was my responsibility. If someone's not showing up for me, in many cases, it's been because I haven't asked them to show up for me. I haven't shown them what that's going to look like. So everybody has standards, you guys. We're just not always happy to admit it to ourselves and to others, right? So what is a standard? Well, I didn't look up the exact definition, but I will tell you what my coach told me. A standard is not what you say you want. It's not your goal. A standard is what you're going to tolerate. And in your business, to have the most success, you need to be clear on what your standards are. You need to draw a line and you need to systematize those standards. That's my opinion. So let's talk about standards. Okay, so I have 3 standards of excellence that I believe are important. So number 1, standard of service. You have to be your best. You always have to deliver over the top service. You have to surprise people. I actually worked at Disney World for a couple of summers in college, no surprise there. And we go through the casting systems. They want to make sure that I seem to be the Disney brand, right? We're looking to see if our values are the same. Do I present myself in a way that people who are going on vacation may want to see? You want to make sure that the details are important. And so we'd go to Disney University, where they're teaching everybody the same thing. They teach the characters, they teach the janitors, they teach little shopkeepers like me, the exact same things. And what it is, it's all about every detail counting and the devil being in the details. And to set that expectation, people save their whole lives to go on these vacations. And it was our job to create an experience. And that's been so important in my career to really realize that is your job, you guys. Again, we are a luxury. Nobody needs us to buy or sell a home, I believe, right? I think it's the same thing in the UK. People can sell for sale by owner. It isn't illegal to sell your own house. What that means is that they're choosing us because they want an experience. And in my opinion, that is so important, is to believe that you are giving an experience. And I'm not going to share, but I actually have a customer review, and it's from a client of mine who is a well-respected physician. He's a professor. His wife is an engineer. She's a professor. And they literally said that my customer service was the best service they've ever received, hands down, in any industry. Like, that was freaking cool. I was surprised, though, to get that. And the reason that I was surprised is because I didn't even know I was doing anything special for them. All I knew is that it is my job to give them the best experience. I wasn't looking for a review. I wasn't looking for a testimony, although you can bet now I ask for it all the time and I receive plenty. But at the time, it's my job to give the best experience. And I kind of mentioned this before, but you guys, we're compensated pretty darn well in this business. And our commissions are flexible, right? They're flexible all around the world. It's not like you have to pay me this. What that means is that, honestly, for me to ask for the kind of money that I expect, and I expect a full commission, right? I like 3% on my side. I'm going to have to give over the top service. I'm going to have to give a little bit extra. So it's important for me for that standard to really be there. So, and it's just easier to be compensated well when you feel like you've earned it. I don't know, maybe that's my thing. The second standard that I have on here, you guys, is a standard of your habits. Where you spend your time matters. And in our bold classes, one thing that we learned is if they call on you and they ask for an answer, the answer is always lead generation. And I like to add, even when you're not doing lead generation. So again, you're having a conversation with a family member, a friend. Okay, I have to make 50 contacts a week, and that's my minimum standard. How many I really make a week is I usually make somewhere between 65 to 105. That's what I'm really going for. My standard is 50. I'm always trying to exceed my standard. To do that and live the life that I want, I need to make sure that I am, again, asking you guys for referrals. Call me, maybe. I need to make sure that I'm asking everybody that I'm in contact with over and over again, from family members to friends. I don't care how many times, right? I mean, obviously not every day. You want to be within reason. You just have to decide that that's who you are. So you have to decide, you have to commit, and then you have to maintain a standard of business activities that you're able to be accountable to. I mentioned for me, it's 50 contacts a week. Some other ones could be, and write these down, you guys. How many social media posts am I going to commit to do a week? How many contacts are you going to commit to do a week? How many number of valuations or estimates are you going to do a week to make your skills better, right? How many people are you just going to give it to? Craig Rieger used to have a class that I took a few times, and it's 90 listings in 90 days. And he talked about that. He did a social media post and says, hey, everybody, I'm learning to do valuations for properties and I need some practice. Who has an address that I know that I can do a valuation for, right? Send me your address and let me send it to you because I need to practice. Ask for help, right? Find a reason to create that dialogue. How many hours are you going to commit on learning your market knowledge in your territory? How many hours are you going to commit to get to the skill level of your contract that you know that no one is going to nothing's going to slip by, that you can really protect your client? How much time are you going to put into marketing skills, negotiation skills? Don't even get me started because I'm an excellent negotiator. So much fun. How many times are you going to practice writing a compelling marketing copy? Maybe looking to see what other people are writing that you find appealing. Are you going to learn about staging and presentation of a house? Because the way that it looks makes a huge difference to your success for you and your client. And again, they're hiring you so that you can bring them value. How much time are you going to put into customer service? How much time are you going to put into working on your business, script practice, general skills development, whatever it is, you guys, like how much time are you really willing to commit to all of this? And why is this important? Well, I'm sure it will be no surprise to any of you that you're going to actually get better at converting leads and appointments as you improve, as you do this more and more. You're going to have more confidence as you're building that up with yourself. And you guys, this should be the fun stuff. Granted, I don't always like all of these things either, but this is where you can really set yourself apart from the competition. This is where you're building your arsenal, right? And for the high D's and the high C's in the room, these are the activities that you put into your calendar until your time is completely filled with appointments. And even when you're super busy, this is the kind of stuff that you're still going to protect and time block for. And this is where you're going to decide with your actions, like which things are really commitments for you and which things are just a little bit of an interest, right? And you guys, there's no judgment on this, but you should really know at a high level what this is. This is where you need to be intentional. And I have a note that says, and Duck hopefully will laugh, no matter how many Google alarms it takes, right? Like we coach on our team and I'll give them a list of something to do and I don't always follow up. So I will tell Duck, who's a stay-at-home dad with 2 cute little boys who distract him, I make him set like 4 or 5 Google alarms for the same thing over and over again. I'm like, how many alarms did you set, right? When did you set them? So no matter what it is, you just need to have some strategies and ask yourself, like, what's my compass, right? Or who's my compass? What tools or resources do you have in place that you can work on, right? Do I have a peak performance partner? Do I need a coach? Do we have a PC coach in our office? Do we need to have a mentor? Do I want a partner, someone, a competition partner, whatever that is? That's so important. So, and again, realizing this is practice, and I'm going to share my screen because there's this quote that I don't know, and it really talks about like the neuroscience of your patterns. And again, we talked about how change can be a little bit tricky. Okay, hold on. Sorry, guys. But it's really neat. This is fascinating to me. I like doing research. What you don't know about me is I'm a little bit of a science nerd. I'll open this up. Share screen. Where is the screen? Okay, here we go. Found it. Do you see it? Okay, so you'll see the quote that's highlighted, and it talks about, this is a quote, and it's just kind of a health study, and it talks about developing neural pathways. And I'm sure you guys have heard this before, right? That when you start to do the same thing, you actually have like patterns in your brain, and it kind of creates like these little circuits that'll keep going through like over and over again. And that's part of why it gets uncomfortable when you're doing things that are different. It's like, no, you're off the track, right? It feels like, oh, get back to where you are. No, that's not what it is. You have to just make new ones. So you can develop new neural pathways. And it talks right here about visualization is very powerful, that you can have that. So for example, again, if you're trying to get into health, what would that look like for me? Again, we go back to our GPS as a team. If I'm really successful at the end of this year, I want to know, like every year I start a new year and I'm like, oh my God, I have to do my goal setting exercise and I'm nervous and I put it off and I do it. And I do mine like 6 or 7 times because I overdo everything. However, every time I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm nervous. Is this really what I'm gonna do? I'm starting from ground zero every year is what it feels like. Not quite, but it feels that way. the end of this year, do you know what I want? I want for my systems to be in place, and I want to have that self-knowledge of I am halfway up the damn mountain right now. Excuse my language. I want to have that. So I might want to do a visualization. What does that look like? What does that feel like, right? Just literally spend that time practicing with myself and imagining. And I'm showing you right here, this isn't me. This is literally a study that this will make a big difference. So for those of you that feel nervousness sometimes, this is that visualization is important. So hold on, let me go back to where I am on my thing. So it's just really cool. And this will make building a business easier. So, okay, great. So we're learning about success. We're doing our visualization. So you have to design and create your own structure for your business and really make those decisions of what does that look like. Yes, you can read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. You should be asking questions. You should be doing research. There are so many YouTube videos, you guys. It's crazy. We're at KW where everybody shares everything. Look, I'm over here, right? I'm crossing my fingers that you'll send me business, but I'm not like taking a referral for everybody that comes in. That's the KW way, is to give back, right? You guys, you have to commit and decide to the minimum hours that you're going to work a week. Our contract on my team says that you work between 40 to 50 hours. I probably work between 70 to 90 on a big week. You have to commit to that. By the way, you should also make a commitment of time that you're not working, because you really want to be, if you're going to be all in here, you have to also be willing to be all in somewhere else, because you have to have some level of balance or counterbalance in your life. The other thing, you guys, is you have to visualize yourself as a boss as well as an employee, right? It's so easy to just get into the do and do that work. You have to see yourself as that CEO. It just will make it so much easier to make those decisions. And then again, I mentioned the 12-week year book, which is a book about productivity and increasing your production. Brian Moran is the author, and it says that the actions, the difference between great and mediocre, they're usually only a very small something, like 2 to 3 extra appointments a week, making 5 to 10 more calls every day though, not just one day, day after day after day, right? Having 3 hours a week that you're committing to working on your business, doing dreaming and building and imagining and all those other things, right? You can squeeze in your funeral exercise in that, your values exercise, whatever it is, just make that commitment. Maybe it's delegating or leveraging one more task. And I use those separately, and I think sometimes people interchange them. What I mean by that is you delegate to people to take things over, but you can leverage your tools. I know you guys have an amazing platform there in the UK. In the US, we're using Command. Use those opportunities, use those systems to have something set up and working for you. And by the way, it's going to take time to get that set up. And you guys, and here's kind of a tricky one that I'm still working on, is you have to learn to act on your commitments versus acting on your feelings. And that isn't always easy to hear, and it's certainly not easy to say, but because it takes practice, and that's okay too, right? Because that's what we're doing. You just really want to be on this commitment of having a journey with yourself, and then you start training. And then last but not least, you guys, we have a standard of the mindset that you're willing to keep. And I did say that the answer is always lead generation, and I get that. This is a sales business, and so much is statistics, and yet the state of our mindset and our confidence level, especially in our value proposition, which would be your skills, your standards, your service, and your results, basically your resume, right? Your confidence and your belief in these, that's what's going to influence the likelihood of your success. In other words, like when I'm making a call, if I expect it to be a great call, it's probably going to be a great call. If I expect it to be a yucky call, I would bet that it's probably going to be that too, right? So I want you to think about this, you guys, as this is your laboratory, right? This is not just your stage. It's a little bit of both. And what I mean by that is your real-time calls of calling people should be shaping your business systems and how you're doing business. You should be using it to develop your communication style. You should be tracking systems for future improvement, right? This is how many days I got 1 yes out of 100. Let's get to the point where you're getting 3 yeses out of 100, right? You should be working with your scripts. Obviously, start with the scripts that we all give and start to develop your own pattern and things that you say that are comfortable and kind of cutesy, right? The same things that you say over and over and over again. And you should be listening to your own language and the language of the sellers that they're using over and over again, because you need that so that you'll be able to get to that next step, right? You want to be able to coach yourself and to be able to coach your sellers. And to do that, you have to really listen. So through this whole thing, ideally, you're going to be gaining your business confidence, building confidence. And I did mention I'm obsessed with language. So we always hear the term building confidence, right? Like I've never heard the term inheriting confidence. Like I didn't inherit any confidence. I don't know about you guys, but I have built it. And so I think that that's a really cool expression, and it helps us to be remembered that it has to be developed. How do you develop? Well, with the same as everything else, you guys, it's trial, it's error, and it's practice. So Earlier, I was saying, think of your business as a learning lab. And I want you to perform as if you're growing from every experience, not like you're taking a test. Remember you went to school and it was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous about that. You knew the material. You were totally ready to go, but someone would put a piece of paper. You felt like you were being judged and maybe you didn't quite perform in the way that you wanted to. But when you're with your friends and they're quizzing you, it's totally fun, right? You want to make sure that you're that. You want to let growth be your objective just as much as getting a contact. The MREA actually proves to us, sorry guys, it actually proves to us that every phone call you make and every contact will get you one step closer to your future. And my favorite mindset lesson, this is my last thing, and then I just did an eyeglasses drop, which is my version of a mic drop, is to get out of judgment and stay out. And that starts with being conscious of stopping to judge yourself and honestly to stop judging others, because God, and you guys, this is life-changing, really in every aspect, in every relationship, and certainly in your business. It's magic that when you stop judging others, somehow magically there seems to be no judgment that kind of comes back on you. So now we have the question, how can you put this into action? Well, they always say the first step is the hardest, which by the way is a terrible affirmation. But I'm going to say it anyway for today. So they say the first step is the hardest. So we are just going to dive in. So number one, everybody pull out your pen. So your number one action for now is that I want you to go through, hopefully you've taken some notes. And I'd love for you to circle maybe some of the things that you might be open to implementing from this class. And it doesn't have to be where we speak. The second thing that I want everybody to do, and I would really like there to be some level of accountability here, like an actual thumbs up or a text, is I really want everybody to pull out their calendar. And I want you to time block 1 hour within the next 24 hours. And it has to be within the next 24 hours. And I don't care when it is. And by the way, if it has to be 4 15 minutes or 2 30s, I don't care. But I want you to commit to giving yourself 1 hour in the next 24-hour period. And this will be so that you can take the first small step of either 1 to 3 items from this class or from somebody else's class. I don't care who it's from. That seems interesting to you that you're willing to go to. So, and you guys, this can be as simple as like, I'm going to go buy a journal, right? I'm going to participate in thinking and mapping out my business for the first time. Ideally, this becomes reoccurring. I want to schedule a class to grow a skill, whether it's contracts or whatever. I'm actually going to book that. That's what I'm going to use this hour for, is finding classes that I want to take and then signing up for it. Maybe you're going to open a savings account at your bank for a dream purchase, a home or a new car. Maybe you go out and buy some running shoes for a new exercise routine, or you schedule a fierce conversation with somebody that you really need to have a talk with and you've been nervous about. Maybe you order a book or ask a mentor for help, or I don't know. Or my favorite is that you actually book time to have the board meeting with yourself, which is of course journaling. And you guys, journaling is not just about writing for your feelings. It's about documenting and recording the observations that you have for yourself. And honestly, I kind of mentioned I was a geology major, so my little science nerd in me, it's the only scientific way that I can think of to really look at yourself objectively and to really look at your obstacles so that you can find and test your most true and accurate solutions. So from now on, let's just decide that we're willing to commit to whatever you choose. And then let's decide what we're willing to exchange for it, because no surprise here, there is going to be some give and take. And then finally, last, I'm going to ask you to just do it. And I'm going to ask you to do it with intentional, relentless consistency, which is an amazing expression that my friend Michael Bailey shared with me. So that's it. That's my class. Thank you guys for having me today. And let me know if you have any questions.
Wow. Wow. Right at the time. First and foremost, Patrice, thank you very much. There's a hell of a lot of content you've given us there. Countless golden nuggets. So you lived up, you're true to form. Your energy has just been, relentless all the way through. So thank you from me. Is there any questions, queries? Obviously, come off mute. Anything anyone wants to kind of pick up on, anything Patrice spoke about really today? They want to go back into and get a little bit more context on.
Thank you guys. Sorry that I went a little bit long. So thank you for staying here with me. Wow, we have 55 people in the room. That's awesome. So yay. You guys, as you can see, I'm very passionate about this. I love this. So please ask questions. I'm happy to be available for other times too with questions. But if you have something, bring it, because you guys, what's as important is thank you for letting me share. With those of you that are sometimes quiet in the room, don't know, is that whatever you're thinking and whatever you don't have, and I did plant some seeds. And hopefully I said some things that maybe made us a little bit uncomfortable. And again, I did that on purpose. And the reason is because we do want to make change, right? You came here because you want to make a difference in your life. I talked about being inspired into action, and I've had plenty of times where I inspire people and I walk away and nothing really happens, and that's not what I want today to be about. You guys still have a few work hours in the UK, and we have a whole day in the US. Like, I want to make sure that people are truly implementing, right? So that's my big thing. So please ask your questions, and please share your successes and your fears, because I think it's important for everybody.
Can I just say thank you very much, because I found this really inspiring. You touched on a lot of things that I resonate with at the moment, with the fear and the comfort zones, and where you feel comfortable and you kind of just retreat back there. And I wasn't trying to put you off when I said about the children and homeschooling. It's just been really challenging to homeschool two at different levels and trying to put the business first. I'm very kind of passionate about becoming that entrepreneur, so I feel like I have to be at everything, and I want to do everything, but also be there for the children. So it's just trying to find that fine balance between knowing, right, listen, I need to pull back a wee bit, and I need to give my time, like you said, you need to be fully committed to the children and then have your own time for work. So the time blocking, and finding my big why also. Again, like you said, it's about the kids. I want this, I want that. It's never really about what's my core why, and I struggle with that. So yeah, I will be spending a lot more time researching that and coming to terms with what I need to do to move forward. But yeah, really inspiring, and thank you very much for today.
Thank you. Can I share something that's been helpful to me?
Yeah.
So I kept trying to find time. I obviously had children at home, and definitely dealt with a lot of these struggles. I actually started this business with being a single mom of a 2.5-year-old and a 4.5-year-old, right? So it was like, okay, get to work and do it all. And I volunteered in the class and that whole bit. And so I pushed myself off for a long time. And I think that the thing that I wish that I knew now is that I was so tired, and I would try and find me time at the end of the day. And it just was that cycle. Again, it's that emotional cycle of change thing. It was the cycle of like, oh my God, I'm tired at night, so I just need a little me time. Nobody talk to me. I'm just going to turn the TV on and zone out. And then I'd wake up tired the next morning. And when I was tired, I wasn't making the best decisions. So I would do whatever the kids said because I was guilty. And oh my God, and it was just this vicious circle. And so I would say, give yourself 15 minutes before the children wake up. An hour if you can do it, but just start baby steps. You have to have that time of just owning yourself for a minute. Again, that's that building trust, right? Okay. If you know that you gave yourself even 5-10 minutes with a cup of tea, with a journal, with music, like before I was on here, I was literally dancing the hip hop in the mirror because, when I get a little nervous, I'm like, what is my thing? Well, that's it, by the way, is kind of being silly and dancing. And that's my thing. And when I do that, like, I'm a better person for you, right? If I came in here tired and exhausted, and by the way, as Allie knows, I really like to prepare. So I was up until 2 actually kind of writing this out and making little changes. If I didn't show up properly for you, if I said, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep in, I'm just going to show up, I wouldn't have been the same me. I chose to wake up early. I chose to do my little dancing. I did my journaling. I read my morning routine. I read my value proposition. I remembered who I was, and then I'm able to be myself. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally.
And it's okay if it's only 2 minutes, 5 minutes. You will build those patterns of success, and it just gets easier. You just have to trust it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for saying that. That means a lot.
Patrice, Pepper had a question. What was the last quote? Do it with.
Oh, Michael, would you share that with us, please? Michael, the original.
Relentless consistency.
Intentional, relentless consistency. It's kind of my thing for the year. When we were in France, Stephanie Evelo, an amazing agent, gave us this little book called What's Your Word? And so last year mine was more. And by the way, I did not mean for more to mean like more chaos and more yuckiness too. But anyway, more was appropriate. And this year mine was intentional. And I was having a conversation with Michael. We were doing a Zoom call and he was like, not just intentional, but intentional, relentless, consistent. I was like, oh yeah. So it's really powerful, right? We have to build that pattern day after day. And I actually have some little books that we talked about. I read the same books over and over and over again. Of course, I add new ones, but I go back. It's the compound effect. It's making sure that it's what you do day after day after day is more important than doing that big something. It's what is the tiny changes that you're willing to make? What are you willing to give up for it? And what systems are you going to put in place to make sure that nothing gets in your way? Fierce conversations. Oh my God. I mean, that one's like, what are you pretending to ignore? Do you know how scary that question is, right? I mean, it's less scary now, but I've shed many a tear of asking myself that question and giving myself a true answer. That is a fantastic book. And you have to know, like, okay, this is what I want to do. Great. Okay, what's going to get in your way? And admitting that some of that time it's going to be yourself, right?
Well, Patrice, there's no more questions.
I got one.
Oh, hold on. Josh has got a question. Go.
Firstly, I love your energy.
Thank you.
I love your energy. I joined Keller Williams about 6 weeks ago.
Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you. I do come from, as in I've been in real estate for a number of years. So I've always been, I think one of my strengths is definitely being able to literally speak to anyone from like previous networking events. I've been with other companies. I would go in a room and I'd just start talking to as many different people. And one thing now, obviously, with everything going on with COVID, it's very, very difficult to do because there's nothing that compares to that human interaction. So I'm relying very much sort of heavily on, social media and my LinkedIn and my Facebook and my Instagram. And one of the things you mentioned about going to the sort of the supermarket and, saying I'm committed to speaking to 100 people. I think that's a really great idea, but I'm wondering, are you implementing any other sort of creative ways to find new leads and to grow your business?
So you guys, and that was a challenge about I had to get some down. So that was my way of saying like that can happen. I wouldn't suggest that you build a business pillar on that. And other than bold, I don't go out to the grocery store. Although again, it was just proof that you can. It really doesn't matter. You just need to talk to anyone. So I would say, like, what is it that I would ask yourself? It's always going back to questions, right? You have to ask great questions. So what is it that you found that you liked about that networking event? And I'm guessing it's about that you were giving energy and someone was giving that back, right? So that's the value, in my opinion, that you would have. That's your driving value, is giving and receiving energy. So you need to find a lead generation that's going to fulfill that. It doesn't have to look the same, right? So by the way, you guys, I am giving you energy, right? And you are giving it back. I'm having so much fun. I could do this all day long. I could go without eating, sleeping, because this feels really good to me. This fills the same exact need that I would going to a networking event, right? It's giving me a little recognition. It's giving me a little fun. So it's, Josh, what gift do you have, right? You've been in the business for a while. What can you do? Maybe you form, a group where you're giving back to people and you're receiving that energy back, right? Could you teach something? Could you come up with a networking group where you're literally sharing with one another? Because I would suspect, and well, it won't be exactly the same. You can trick that value, right? You can trick yourself a little bit to fulfill that duty. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
And it doesn't even have to be about business, you guys. It's like, oh my God, I love, I don't know, crochet. I don't really love crochet. I love crochet. Great. Form a crochet group and like talk about different things. It could be whatever. It's about building it around your life. And Seychelle Van Poel teaches this class about being hyper local, and it's one of the ones that our team watches all the time. And I think it's more important now than ever, because you have to build your life around what you have. We can't go out to the same places that we did before. So you have to look at your life and really see, what does my life look like? Who are the people that I'm in contact with? Okay, great. This is what I've got to work with. Well, that's what you have to work with. Then what can I do with these people, right? Do your best with those, develop some skills and patterns, and then move that to the next level. And then just keep getting creative. And by the way, some of them are going to be weird, right? It's like, I just said I joined a crochet group. That'd be creepy. I'd quit that real quick. But I'm willing to move on, join a crochet group, and go to the next. And again, I don't even crochet, but I'm just kind of using that. But it's giving yourself that grace and just being in practice and with a relationship with saying, I don't have this all figured out. And that's totally okay. I'm going to keep taking every step, though, day by day by day, in my opinion.
Fabulous. Well,
Thanks,
listen,
you guys.
it's 10 to 4. How have we managed to fill 100 minutes? That is
I know.
ridiculous. Contact packed and full of value, Patrice. So again, thank you very, very much indeed for coming to join us today. It's been inspirational. I've saved the recording so we can share it far and wide, and get as many people hearing the valuable nuggets you've given us today. So again, from me, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone else who joined us, and enjoy the rest of the day. Patrice,
And you guys, to really thank me, then go get into production, because my biggest value is making a difference. And this was just a great conversation and awesome. I love having the contacts. Thank you for filling out my list this week. And what's really important is that you go out and actually implement, because then it'll make a difference. And I'll know that I did the right thing today. So Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks,
Bye.
Patrice. That was amazing.